All right, let me start. Okay. Your quiz tomorrow is 12 questions. About half are going to be multiple choice, the other half not. But you're going to see a little bit of everything. So everything on here is fair game. You're going to need to know how to graph something by hand, graph a line by hands, identify the slope, y-intercept, write the equation of a line given the slope and y-intercept, and I think parallel, perpendicular, and then we're going to have to evaluate the piecewise function as well, or evaluate values in a piecewise function, so we're going to do that towards the end. But for now, let's start. Hopefully we're all here. Let's start by graphing each line. Again, you're going to see maybe one that you're going to have to graph by hand. So let's get started. Let's look at 1. What's special about 1? Anything? 0. Not the 0. What variable do we see? Okay, it's just the x. Is there any y? Oh, no. There's no y. So what kind of line is it if it's just x? Do you remember? Okay, so if it's just x, it's going to be a vertical line. All right, so it's going to go straight up and down. And now to find where this line is going to be, just solve for x. So I'm going to go ahead and add 9 on both sides. And we get 9 equals negative 3x, and then divide both sides by negative 3. So we get x equals negative 3. And now I'm going to find on the x-axis where x is negative 3, and it's going to be right here. So we have this point right here. All right, and since it's a vertical line, you just need to draw a line going straight up and down. And then this is your line. All right, so this is your equation of the line, and then here's your line. All right. That's all for that one. All right, the next one's very similar. So let's look at number 2. I know I told you guys odds only, but in class I'm going to jump around a bunch. All right. For this one, we have 3 equals negative y. Again, we only see a y, right? There's no x here. What kind of line is this if it's just y? If x was vertical, then horizontal, right? Good. All right, so we want to get this y by itself. So to get it by itself, you can either multiply or divide by negative 1, and that's going to get rid of that negative in front of the y. I'm going to divide. Right, divide both sides by negative 1, and then we get a positive y, and then 3 divided by negative 1 is negative 3. So we get negative 3 equals y. And there's your equation. And now to graph this, you're going to find on the y-axis where y is negative 3, and it's going to be right here. Right, and it's going to be horizontal, so you're going to draw a line going straight across to the left and to the right. And this is the graph of your equation. All right, not bad, right? So far, so good? Right, we keeping up? Okay. Now, if you have both x and the y, the best way to do these is to convert to slope-intercept. Right, so I'm going to write convert to slope-intercept. Okay, so I would convert these to slope-intercept form. Right, which I'm sure you all remember is going to be y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. All right, so looking at number 3, we have 2x plus 9 equals 3y. So what do we have to do to get the y by itself? Okay, let's divide by the number in front, right? So let's divide by 3 on both sides. So we're going to divide everything by 3. And then we get 2/3 x. 9 divided by 3 is 3 equals y. Right, it's backwards, but it is in slope-intercept form. If you don't like that it's backwards, you can rewrite it into y equals 2/3 x plus 3. Right, that's fine. What's the slope here and what's the y-intercept? Okay, good. So your slope is 2/3, and that must mean your y-intercept is your constant, which is 3. Right, B is for begin. Always begin at your y-intercept. Right, so find on the y-axis where it's 3, right, and that's going to be right here. And a slope of 2/3 means you're going to go up 2 and to the right 3, right? It's always your rise over your run. Right, so if they're both positive, you're going to go up and to the right. So you're going to go up 2 and to the right 3, and that's going to get you right here. And now you just need to connect these 2 points. You don't need any more points than this. You just need 2 points. Right, and then you just extend it in both directions. And now once you get your 2 points, just to avoid any mistakes, you don't want to stop it here. You don't want to connect the 2 points and then leave it at that. Because that's not a line, that's a line segment, right? We don't have a line segment here. It is a line. So you need to show that it's going in both directions. So extend the arrow and then write the arrow in both directions, right? This is a line. But that's really all you need. You just need 2 points and then connect them. All right, how's that? Not bad? Good. Okay. I'll really quickly do the next one, just because it might confuse some of you. We have y plus x equals -3. Again, you always want to convert it to slope-intercept form. So how do we want to get that y by itself? Okay, subtract x on both sides, good. So we get y equals -x minus 3. All right, what is your slope? And what's your y-intercept? All right, so the number in front of your x, what is that?
0.
-1. All right, if there's nothing in front of the x, you assume it's a 1, and it's negative. And your y-intercept is going to be -3. So let's plot the point at -3. So find on the y-axis -3. And your slope of -1, if it's an integer or a whole number, you always want to write it over 1, just so that you have your rise over your run. And now that it's -1, we know that we're going down, and a +1 means we're going to the right. So let's go down 1 to the right, and then we end up at this point right here. And then you just connect these 2 points, and then write the arrow in both directions. Okay, so now the rest of these, okay, well, number 5 is another one that you have to convert it into slope-intercept form first. But 6, 7, and 8 are already in slope-intercept form for you. Right, so let's try number 7. Right, so I don't want you to overcomplicate it. You already have your slope and y-intercept. Your slope is going to be 9/2, the number in front of your x. Your y-intercept is going to be that -4. And now all you have to do is find on your y-axis -4. And then you want to go up 9. Right, going up 9 should take you right here. And then you want to go to the right 2. Right, it's always your rise over your run. And then you have your 2 points and you just want to connect them. All right, so now the next type of question that you're going to see, so like I said, you're going to have to graph by hand one line. But another question that you might see is just finding the slope of a line. On top of that, you might need to also find the equation of the line that passes through those points. All right, do you remember our slope formula?
Is it y minus y1?
Okay, so close. It's going to be y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1 on the bottom. All right, so if you're given 2 points, just plug it into this formula, you get your slope right away. So let's label this as x1 and this as y1. I'm going to label this as x2 and y2. Plug it into your slope formula. Y2 is going to be -3, minus y1 is -14. On the bottom, x2 is -4, minus x1 is 4. On the top, minus a negative is going to make a big plus. All right, so we have -3 plus 14 is going to get you 11. And then on the bottom, -4 minus 4 is going to get you -8. So this is your slope. Can't simplify it or anything, so you just leave it alone. This is your slope. And now if you want to find the equation of the line that passes through these points, you could either plug them into slope-intercept form and then solve for b, or you can plug it into point-slope form and then convert it to slope-intercept. I think maybe the easiest way is to plug it into point-slope form. Do you remember point-slope? Okay. Okay, so this will show up in a couple problems. We're going to use point slope again, but it's going to be, oh, I wrote that wrong. It's going to be y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So this is point slope. I'm right here. Point slope form. And it's going to be where m is your slope. And we have x1, y1 is your point. So it's in the name. You need a point and you need a slope. All right, so it doesn't matter which point you plug into point slope form. I'm just going to use the second one. Again, doesn't matter. I'm going to use -4, -3. So to plug it into point slope form, we're going to get y minus -3 is going to become a y plus 3. Our slope is -11/8. And then x minus x1 is going to be minus -4, which is plus 4. All right, so just plugging in the point, plugging in the slope. And then you want to convert this into slope-intercept form by distributing -11/8. And then at the end, you're going to subtract the 3. So for now, we have y plus 3 is -11/8x. And then -11/8 times 4, you can cancel out the 4 with the 8. Right? 4 goes into 8 2 times. So we have a 2 on the bottom. So minus 11/2. If you're not comfortable with that, just write it over 1 and then multiply straight across. You get 11 times 4 over 8. And then you simplify it. And then now to get the y by itself, you need to subtract the 3. All right, so subtract 3 on both sides. And then we get y equals -11/8x. Minus 11/2 minus 3. And now to combine the fraction and the integer, we need a common denominator. So I'm going to write negative 3 over 1. And then to get a common denominator, just multiply the top and the bottom by 2. Right, that's going to be our least common denominator. And then we get y equals negative 11 over 8x minus 11 over 2 minus 6 over 2. And then from here, we just want to combine negative 11 minus 6 and write it over 2. And the equation of our line is going to be negative, or y equals negative 11 over 8x minus 17 over 2. All right, so that's fair game for your quiz. I mean, this might be one of the more work-heavy ones, right? There's a lot of steps to get to your final answer, but this maybe be the hardest thing that you're going to see. I'm not going to say that you will or will not see something like this, but either way, it's covered, right? Okay, deleted. I'm just going to do it again. So,
Can I use it back?
Okay, so if you want to find the slope of this, okay, just let me do it again really quick. Okay, let me start sharing. Okay, so then you would plug it in. But then doing this would get you a 0 on the bottom. And 0 on the bottom is undefined. Right, sorry guys, just let me rewrite it. And undefined slopes are vertical lines. So vertical lines are always x equals a number. And to find what that number is, you're just going to look at your x value, right? It should be the same in both, and it's going to be x equals 8. Now, if it was a horizontal line, then the y values would have repeated, and then you would just look at the value for y that repeats, and then it would be y equals that number. All right, good. All right, so now let's try finding the slope of these lines given an equation. So if you're given an equation, the easiest way to find the slope, again, convert everything to slope-intercept form. All right, so let's look at number 13. We want to convert this to slope-intercept form. It is not yet in slope-intercept form, right? We want something that looks like y equals mx plus b. So let's get the y by itself. Let's add the 25 on both sides. So we get x plus 25 equals negative 5y. And then now let's divide both sides by negative 5. So let's divide everything by negative 5. And then we get x over negative 5 minus 5 equals y. Right, so it isn't slope-intercept form, it's just backwards. Again, it's fine. It's not a big deal. If you don't like it this way, you can rewrite it. So we get y equals x over negative 5 minus 5. The way I have it written, it's not obvious what the slope is, right? But what would it be, right? 1, yeah? Yeah, good, right? 1 over negative 5. So if there's nothing in front of the x, you assume it's a 1. And then your slope is just going to be whatever is, whoa. What happened? Okay, whatever is attached to this x, right? So it's going to be this 1 over negative 5. Right, so your slope, negative 1 over 5. All right, and now let's look at number 14. 14 is another special kind of line. What's special about this one? Okay, there's no x, there's just a y. What kind of lines are these that just have a y? Okay, so they're horizontal. Horizontal lines have what kind of slope? It's not no slope, it would be It has a value of
0.
0. Yeah. Value of 0. You didn't even need to solve it. Right? You could have just left it like this. Right? Solving it doesn't get you anything other than the point that it passes through. All right, so it's just going to be m equals 0. Different from no slope. If you have no slope, it's a vertical line and it's going to be undefined. Right? Something like number 18. 18, we just see an x, right? There's no y. It's already solved for you. You have negative 1 equals x, but that doesn't really help you here. Right? Don't mess up an easy problem like this and say that your slope is negative 1. Right? Just because you see it doesn't mean that that's your slope. Right? It's going to be an undefined slope. This is a vertical line. All right, and the rest of these on this page are just problems where you have to convert the equation into something in slope-intercept form to find the slope. Right, but if it's horizontal or vertical, those are special cases, and it's either going to be 0 or undefined. Okay, let's look at 19 through 22. So these, you need to be careful with the directions. Right, it's asking you to find the point slope form of the equation, given the point and the slope. So now, point slope, we said was y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Right, and we have x1, y1 is your point, and m is your slope. Right, so let's go ahead and label these. In number 19, you're given an x1 and a y1, and you're given a slope m. So now we just want to plug this into point slope form. We're going to get y minus 5, right, because that's our y1, equals our m is 5 over 4, and then x minus x1 is 4. All right, and what do we do from here?
You multiply 5 over 4 times x. So
You do nothing. This is your answer. So you need to be careful with the directions, right? I know it doesn't look like something that you work with often, an equation in point slope form. I know we like to convert them to slope intercept, but if it tells you to write it in point slope form, you need to leave it like this. Because let's say on a multiple choice, it asks you to find the point slope form of the equation, and you see the slope intercept form as an option, and you pick that one, it's going to be wrong. And you did all that work for nothing, right, to get the point wrong. Right? Leave it like this. If it says point slope, you need to leave it in point slope form. All right, so try the one right underneath it. Right? Write the equation of this line in point slope form. Right? It shouldn't be super difficult. It gives you a point and it gives you a slope. Okay, so this one, our slope is going to be -1, and our point is going to be 5, -4. So just plugging it into slope or point slope form, y minus -4 is going to become y plus 4. Our slope is going to be a -1, and we're going to see an x minus 5 on the inside. And there's your equation in point slope form. So if you're asked to write the slope-intercept form of a line parallel or perpendicular, right, I'll explain what that means. Right, so this was in the video that you guys watched. So parallel is going to have the same slope. All right, if it is perpendicular, it's going to have the opposite reciprocal. All right, so 23, for instance, we're given that it goes through the point 3, 0, and we want it parallel to this line right here, y equals 5/3 x plus 4. If it is parallel, you're going to take the slope of the original, and right, the slope is the number in front of your x, and you're going to do what to it? Yeah, right, keep it the same. You're not going to do anything to it. So your slope is going to be 5/3, and we know that it has to go through this point right here. And if it goes through this point, you just want to plug it into either slope-intercept or point slope, and then you want to solve and get your y-intercept. I'm going to plug this into point slope and then convert it into slope-intercept because we're given a point and we're given a slope. So I'm going to say that this is x1, y1. And then if you want to put it into point slope form, we get y minus y1, which is y minus 0, equals 5/3. And then we get x minus x1, which is x minus 3. So this is in point slope form. Now to get it in slope intercept form, you want to distribute this 5/3. Right? And on the left, we're going to have y minus 0, which is y. And then 5/3 times x is just 5/3 x. And then 5/3 times negative 3, the 3's are going to cancel. So we get minus 5. If you're not comfortable with that, just write it as 3/1 and multiply straight across. And then simplify. All right, so that's writing the equation of a line parallel to this one. All right, so I'm going to skip 25, and I'm going to go to 27 because this one's perpendicular. All right, finding the equation of a line perpendicular, you need to take the slope, and you're going to do what to it? Okay, you're going to flip it and then change the sign. Opposite reciprocal. So your perpendicular slope is going to be negative 2/5. And then from here, you do the same thing. You're given a point. So I'm going to label this x1, y1, and you're given a slope, or you found the slope negative 2/5. And then plug it into point slope form and then convert it to slope intercept. Y minus y1 is going to become y minus 1. Our slope is negative 2/5. We get x minus x1, which is x minus 5. And then distribute negative 2/5 to everything on the inside. So we get y minus 1 equals negative 2/5 x. And then just like the one before, the 5's are going to cancel. And then we get negative 2 times negative 1 is going to be a positive 2. And then you want to add the 1 on both sides. And then your equation is going to be y equals negative 2/5 x plus 3. So for the next part of it, if you're being asked to find the function or evaluate the function for the given value, for example, 29, you just need to find the number inside of the f, and you're plugging it in to f. So we get f of 6. Again, plug in a 6 everywhere that you see an x. And then 6 squared is going to be 36. 8 times 6 is going to be 48 plus 12. And then when you go to simplify this, this should just get you 0. And you can just leave your answer as that. F of negative 6 equals 0. Or no, f of 6, sorry, equals 0. Right, so here you're just computing. All right, same thing with the next one, 31. Right, they give you a function, and you want to find the value. And if it's f of 0, you're plugging in 0 everywhere that you see an x. And then 0 squared is 0. 6 times 0 is 0. So 0 minus 6 is just going to get you negative 6. All right, shouldn't be super difficult. All right, now I'm going to try to quickly go over this page. I'm going to do 33 and 35. But before you go, I'll just leave it at the last thing here. I didn't include problems on it, but you should be able to determine whether an equation is a function or not, given just the equation, right? Not the graph, but just the equation. And if it has a y squared, or absolute value over the y, this is the only case where it's not a function. So that's all you need to know. So if it's a y squared, or an absolute value of y, or y to any even power, right? Any even power. Right, those are the only cases where it's not a function. All right. Couple minutes, okay. You'll see one piecewise function, I believe. They look a lot harder than they are. I know we went over it before, briefly. But you're just looking at the value that's inside of the f, and you're trying to see where that value satisfies the inequality, right? So if you look at negative 2, right, I'm looking at a. F of negative 2, you're going to go one by one on these inequalities. So check the first one. Does it satisfy x is less than or equal to 0 if you plug in negative 2? Yeah, right? It does, so you're going to plug it into this expression here. So everywhere that you see the x for 4x minus 1, you're going to plug in a negative 2. And then 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. And negative 8 minus 1 is negative 9. You don't even need to worry about the others. Right? Because it doesn't satisfy that range of values. Right? So you just need to look at that one that it satisfies. All right, so looking at the next one, f of 0. Which one does 0 satisfy? The first one, the second one, or the third one? The first one, right? If we have 0 is less than or equal to 0, right, it's with equality. It's allowed to be equal to. So you're plugging into the first one again. So 4 times 0 minus 1, all right, we just get 0 minus 1, which is negative 1. And then 1, for example, f of 1, you're going to plug in a 1 into x squared, because 1 is between 0 and 3. And then 1 squared is just 1. And that's how you solve these kinds of problems. And then now, I know you guys have a minute left, but really quickly, if you see something like this, where it's just a constant, if it's just 4, then let's just say a for negative 1. Negative 1 is less than or equal to 6. So this is just going to be 4. You don't even need to evaluate anything. All right, and that's everything that should be on your quiz.